It is the ultimate betrayal. One minute, you're enjoying a fantastic milkshake, and the next, bam, you're doubled over with this crazy head pain. But what if I told you that this seemingly random act of cruelty is actually your brain's weird way of protecting itself? Yeah, let's dive into the fascinating science behind brain freeze. I mean, we've all been there, right? You take way too big of a bite of ice cream or you chug a slushie just a little too fast, and suddenly you get that sharp, stabbing pain right in the middle of your forehead. It's such a universal experience, but what is actually going on inside our heads when it happens? Well, as it turns out, it's a whole lot more complicated than you might think. Okay, so before we get into the nitty-gritty of the science, let's just talk about what we're actually dealing with here. Because this feeling, this headache, it goes by a lot of different names. So, you and I, we probably call it an ice cream headache. Makes sense. Scientists often call it a cold stimulus headache, a little more formal. Neurologists might even call it a trigeminal headache. But if you really want to impress your friends at your next party, you can use its official and frankly ridiculous medical term, sphenopalatine ganglioneuralgia. Go ahead, try saying that one 5 times fast. I'm not even going to attempt it. Now, let's just get one thing straight right off the bat. Despite the very dramatic name brain freeze, your brain is not, I repeat, is not actually freezing. That's right. Even though you feel that intense ache right in your forehead, your actual brain tissue is perfectly safe. It's not in any danger of turning into a popsicle, I promise. The entire chain reaction, the whole drama, actually starts in a completely different part of your head, the roof of your mouth. See, the key players here, the real culprits, are this little bundle of nerves called the sphenopalatine ganglion. Just think of it like a super sensitive command center that's located right behind your nose. And its job is to constantly monitor the temperature in your mouth and, send urgent signals to your brain to protect it if things change too fast. So, if your brain isn't freezing, what on earth is causing that intense pain? Well, it all comes down to this rapid, really dramatic series of events that happens in your blood vessels. It's like this crazy dance of shrinking and expanding that basically sends your nerves into a temporary panic. You know when you hold an ice cube in your hand gets cold, right? And the blood vessels in your skin get really narrow to try and keep heat in. That's called vasoconstriction. Then, what happens when you drop the ice cube? Your hand warms up, and those blood vessels open wide back up to get the blood flowing. That's vasodilation. The exact same thing happens on the roof of your mouth when you eat ice cream, but it happens way faster and on a much more dramatic scale. And it's that extreme swing from narrow to wide that causes all the trouble. So here's the play-by-play. First, that icy cold slushie hits your palate, and your blood vessels slam shut, they constrict. Then, as soon as you swallow or the cold is gone, the area starts to warm up, and those same vessels rebound and swell way open, causing this huge rush of blood. Those sensitive nerves we talked about, the sphenopalatine ganglion, they sense all this chaos and they fire off a pain signal straight to your brain. It is the perfect storm of neurological and vascular activity, all in a split second. But why do you feel the pain in your forehead and not on the roof of your mouth where it's all happening? This is a classic example of something called referred pain. Think of the trigeminal nerve like a big highway system with lots of on-ramps that all lead to one place, your brain. When a pain signal from your palate gets on that highway, your brain can sometimes get its wires crossed about which on-ramp it came from. It misinterprets the signal as coming from your forehead, another spot that nerve is responsible for. Okay, now here is the really interesting part. This whole painful process, it's actually a defense mechanism. According to researchers like Dr. Jorge Serrador, that sudden rush of blood from the vasodilation, that's your body's emergency response team. It's sending in warm blood to protect your brain from what it thinks is a dangerous temperature drop. So yeah, it's a brilliant, if maybe a little overzealous, survival instinct. But wait, the story doesn't end there. As it turns out, this seemingly minor, everyday annoyance has a pretty surprising connection to a much more serious medical condition. Yeah, studies have shown this really clear link between brain freeze and migraines. It turns out that people who suffer from migraines are way more likely to experience brain freeze than people who don't. Some studies have even found that they're twice as likely to get a cold stimulus headache. And that's a fascinating connection that has scientists pretty excited. And here's why that's so important. Brain freeze gives scientists a perfect, totally predictable, and harmless way to trigger and study headache mechanisms in a lab. They can watch these rapid changes in blood flow in real time. It's almost like having a little window into the brain, allowing them to see exactly what's happening during a headache. And that could be the key to unlocking new treatments for migraines, cluster headaches, and maybe even managing pain after a traumatic brain injury.
Okay, so we have covered the science. That's all very cool. But now let's get to the good stuff. When that pain hits, how do you make it go away? And I mean fast.
All right, the number one trick is also the simplest. Just press your tongue flat against the roof of your mouth. The heat from your tongue directly warms up your palate and those sensitive nerves, basically telling your blood vessels, hey, false alarm, it's safe to stand down. You can also try sipping some warm, not hot, water, or even cupping your hands over your mouth and nose and breathing quickly to trap warm air. It's a super quick way to short-circuit the whole pain signal.
Of course, the best way to deal with brain freeze is to, well, not get it in the first place. And the easiest way to do that is just to slow down. That's it. Savor that ice cream or cold drink instead of just inhaling it. And if you're really prone to them, you can try taking a sip of something warm beforehand, just to prepare your palate for the shock. So, the next time you get hit with that excruciating ice cream headache, just remember, you're not just in pain, you're actually experiencing a fascinating neurological defense mechanism, one that might someday help us solve some of medicine's toughest puzzles. And that's really the beautiful thing about science, isn't it? Even the most annoying little things in life can have a pretty amazing silver lining.